Hey there. I'm going to try something a little different today. I've been struggling with writing for Substack, and I just have a lot of different threads that haven't been coming together on a lot of different topics, uh, all related to women's health and power and aging, et cetera, et cetera. But something happened yesterday, and I got a spark. And I just thought, I want to try something new with Substack. I want to just push myself to get things out and share them faster. So I'm going to use this video format and I'm going to do some screen sharing. And I'm going to talk about what happened yesterday that led to this. So, as you know, I follow Midi Health and I am fascinated by this company. It's one of those companies that there's a bit of jealousy, there's some adoration, there's just a lot. There's a lot of feelings that this company brings up. And I wrote about Midi's funding history back in March, and in February of 2026, Midi raised $100 million in venture capital, and they had a $1 billion valuation. So they became a unicorn. That's sort of the industry parlance in the venture capital world for a company that is valued at $1 billion. So yesterday morning, I'm going about my day. I'm working on another piece that I'm trying to pull together, and I start skimming my email. And I find in my inbox Midi's newsletter. And I want to show it to you because the minute that I opened it, I knew things had changed. Okay, so this is what popped up. So because I'm a branding expert, I immediately noticed that Midi has changed their logo. They've got a new hot pink, they have a new hero image in their newsletter, and so instantly I knew they had rebranded and that this was one of the ways that they are spending their $100 million. So Midi has rebranded at least 3 times since their inception in 2021, which I want to talk about that. But so this is kind of the email newsletter that launched this missive. So you can see here, they have softened their logo, and they have then kind of just reframed the newsletter. It's still very editorial, but it is really focused on pushing you to the website to get a care plan, to book a visit. That's book a visit. They're surfacing more of their blog content. These are probably some of the top read blog posts that they have. They are really pushing bundles of products and content. This is one of my favorite sections. I read this every newsletter that they put out, the trending topics. I think they have some really great links and content here. And then you can click here, you see down 3, 4, 5 bullet points, you can see that there's more about their brand evolution in their next chapter. Okay, so this is what starts my journey, and I started to think about this on a couple of different levels. So I work with women's health companies, and I also write about women's health for a midlife audience. And this is a really interesting moment, and I'm going to try to break this down in a thoughtful way for you, depending on who you are. Okay, so there's their email. So I want to go now to the website, because when you do a rebrand, you update everything. So your website, your email design, you're going to update all of your social content, the way it appears. It's all going to hit at one time. And that's what they did masterfully, I might add. Okay, so here's their website. So when you click through from the email or whatever link you click on to come to their website, this is a radically new Midi brand. So I've said this to some other people and I've posted about this, but Midi has gone much younger. They are much brighter, they're more bold, and they're more editorial. And you see that in the surfacing up front here of what looks like customer comments. You've got products. But let me back up. Let's talk about a brand refresh, or a brand update, uplift, whatever you want to call it. So they have really zagged in a new way on typography. You've got a really strong headline there. Their color palette, it has been updated. Their photography looks very editorial. It's skewing younger. They are clearly going after maybe mid 30-year-old, 40-year-olds. Who knows? Maybe they're even trying to go after 20-year-olds, honestly. They did make an announcement. There was a press release regarding this brand update, and they are very clearly expanding care into younger life stages. Okay, so look at the new color palettes. We've got hot pink. We've got this really high contrast between pink and fluorescent yellow. They're still keeping the purple that they've had for a long time. Their website is really active. It's got a lot of movement. It's got fresh, probably some custom photography or some higher priced stock photography. And they're really trying to keep you drawn in here with this website. There's lots of bells and whistles here that entertain you much more than they had in the past. Okay, so just look at this. So they are surfacing products, GLP-1s. They're going to push GLP-1s, fiber products, estriol face cream products. They are really pushing product. Lots of little videos embedded in here, pushing products. They've got a lot of great content. And one of the things that you're going to start to see is, I'm pretty certain Midi will start surfacing in your chatbot conversations, because they have optimized their blog content to show up in answer engines. So that's your ChatGPT, your Claude. They're being extremely smart about how they're surfacing content so that they own those conversations in AI, in those large language models. What else here? So just very, very, it looked like here's a woman and her cat. Just very different. It doesn't feel clinical. This feels like a women's lifestyle brand. It could be a magazine. It kind of reminds me, going back into the 90s, like Victoria's Secret, and what a big deal it was, for better or worse, when Victoria's Secret came onto the scene and spent a bunch of money. This is just something to really keep an eye on. And if you are in women's health, if you are running a women's health brand, you need to pay attention to this. The things that I think are really great about it is that they are very clearly investing in their brand. And that is something that you don't always see from women's health companies, but they care about it. They are refreshing it regularly. And they're really kind of writing a playbook for women's health brands moving forward. And you don't have to have $100 million to do this kind of work, but you do have to refresh your image and your look and your voice consistently to stay relevant. So that's something to think about if you are you're a CEO or a CMO, or you're running a product for a women's health brand. You need to pay attention to that. And look to Midi for where some trends are going. Trends around color, trends around voice, content. The other interesting thing about the timing of this launch is they're kind of mixing up the playbook. So typically you launch a big rebrand in September with back to school, the energy shift that occurs in September. You are pushing to the end of the year. You've probably got a lot of goals. So you normally see a big push like this in the September timeframe, but they have done it in August. So yesterday was August 18th, the middle of August, which is kind of interesting. Maybe they're hoping it drops and it doesn't get a lot of pickup, which seems odd. Like, why would you do that? I prefer to look at it more as it's a slow news cycle. And here they are inserting themselves in that news cycle. And that is something that Midi does extremely well. So something to think about as you are planning your product launch, your editorial cadence, is mix it up on timing. Try things when everybody else is not doing it. So I will give Midi props for that. Let's see, what else? From a from a women's health brand perspective, clearly Midi is going younger. So, there are conversations I have with brands that are trying to serve women at life stages before the perimenopause transition. So in your 30s, maybe you have endometriosis, you've got PMOS, you've got other issues. Midi's going there now. So you now have more competition. And whether you like it or not, whether you say that you don't really compete against Midi, you do, because of the investments that Midi is making in brand awareness, in their content, and how they're going to be surfacing in all the places that women are asking questions. You are now competing with Midi. So I find that interesting. Okay, let's see. From a patient perspective, I think this is actually a good thing. And I know that some people might argue with me on that, but the more women that get care that they might not otherwise have gotten, or that see content, whether we like it or not, the more women that are educated and know that they have choices and where to go to get care to feel their best, I think that's a good thing. But there are some things that I'm going to continue to push because I study this industry, and I also, I've talked about this, that there's a lot of money. Midi has a lot of money to insert themselves in your algorithm, in the feed, and to gather your attention. So be aware of that. And the first thing, I've lingered on this homepage a long time, the first thing to be aware of is they are selling you a care plan that is including products. So they have their own line of supplements, this daily brain boost. They are selling GLP-1s. They are selling them both the mainstream FDA approved versions and compounded GLP-1s, which is a big problem for a lot of people, a lot of clinicians, which I tend to agree with. So you need to be informed. And I suspect that they're going to be pushing more of these products in. You'll probably have your care portal, and you'll start to see more of these products showing up. Just be aware, you don't have to buy those. There's lots being written and talked about regarding supplements. I've been covering that. GLP-1s, it also looks like they've got a microdosing option. I want to try to find this for you. This website is kind of interesting because you have to scroll through a lot of content. They capture your attention through these modules that they require you to click through or to scroll through. Okay, let's go to GLP-1s. I want to show you this. So this is something to be aware of. This is their weight management service line. And it's interesting that they're telling you don't have membership fees, because they're clearly positioning against some of those other options, those concierge options where you pay a membership fee to get your GLP-1s. Okay, so down here, you'll see this is their process. This is what you can expect. Here's your care plan. You're going to do labs and testing. You can get lifestyle coaching and support. That's interesting. I wonder what that means. Like, I wonder if they've actually hired coaches, like nutritionists. Supplements, not hormone, non-hormone supplement integration. And then, okay, here we go. Weight management medication. So brand name GLP-1s. So those are going to be like your Ozempics, your Zepbounds, and then the compounded GLP-1s. And that double asterisk here means that it's not FDA approved. So that's something to pay a lot of attention to and know what you're buying, what you're getting there. You're just going to see a lot more product in your patient experience. And that might be great. You might want to spend your money in that way, but beware. Okay, the other thing that I spent some time on that is perhaps a little bit controversial, and something that I think that you're going to need to pay more and more attention to moving forward, is privacy, your patient privacy, and consent around how your information is used. So very boring but important thing on these telehealth sites is at the very bottom of a page, you're going to see things like a privacy policy, terms and conditions. I'm surprised that they don't have a notice of privacy practices down here. That's another, it's called an NPP. So I went through the privacy policy, and it is kind of shocking what you are agreeing to when you commit to care from Midi. I will go into that at a separate time, but this is something that you need to be aware that your data is being used. And they are explaining to you how they are using that on this page. And so you should read this yourself and you should be informed. There is no statement in their privacy policy about how they are using your information to train their AI large language model. So MIDI is moving into AI, using AI in the patient journey. That is also another topic to discuss at another time, but they are very much a tech company, so this is really probably boring for you to see, but I want you to know that everything they're doing with your data is on this page, and there are some practices here that are a bit troubling. So one thing to think about when you engage in a conversation with a clinician is asking before your session begins, am I being recorded? Because they're oftentimes using AI to take notes, and they will then they'll fill out your chart based on that transcription. Ask them if you're being recorded, and if you don't want to be recorded, you can decline. And then if you're really curious, you could ask them, are they using your data to train their large language model? Or how is my data being used to train your model? So those are kind of the biggies. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else? I'm not going to do anything else today. I just wanted to come on and get this out there. I want to see if you like these. I could talk about brands for hours, and you know how I feel about Midi. So this happened. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. It's the result of the money that they raised, and it's going to change a lot for women's health. And I want you to be aware of it, and I want us to have some conversation about it. So let me know if you like this format. I'm sure I got some things wrong. Probably we'll hear from Midi. Great. But anyway, let me know what you think. And if you like these, I'll do more of them. All right. Bye.